Hey folks, how you doing? I know you missed me today. Today you are going to be reading something by Adam Smith. This guy! So Adam Smith here, we've talked about him a little bit. In fact, he was on the test, you'll recall, is that this was the Scottish philosopher and economist who first starts talking about capitalism, or at least what we now call capitalism. The name didn't come along until later, but he's known as being kind of the founder, or the biggest early proponent of capitalism. And Smith here wrote a book that was called The Wealth of Nations. Or more accurately, an inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations by Adam Smith, LLD. I've absolutely no idea what LLD means. But the Wealth of Nations here, it says right there, and the sucker was, 4 volumes? So little long. But what you have in front of you is just going to be a small excerpt as far as what to read. So it's going to be one of the more interesting parts. Now, The Wealth of Nations here was published in the year 1776. So it's been around for a while. But one of the things you got to bear in mind with Smith is that the time that he's writing in, one of the ideas behind the way nations did it was a thing called mercantilism. You export as much as possible while not relying on anybody else. And one of the things you want to do here was just get a whole lot of money. That was the name of the game, hoard money, gold and silver. And one of the central things that Adam Smith starts realizing here is that something that we've talked a little bit about in class is that money's not important. What good is the money going to do you if you don't have stuff? He starts coming to the realization it's the stuff that's important. So what you want to do is to be able to produce as a country, and especially if you invest in capital, things like factories and whatnot, they're going to be able to do even more. All right, but this is kind of where he's getting at here. Now, Adam Smith is not the easiest to read. If you've tried looking at this already, well, okay, it's using old language. It was published in 1776. But what I don't want you to do is start to get intimidated by the reading or the style of writing as soon as you look at it. It's like, okay, we look at the first paragraph right here. This division of labor, from which so many advantages are derived, is not originally the effect of any human wisdom, which foresees and intends that general opulence to which it gives occasion. It is the necessary, though very slow and gradual consequence of a certain propensity in human nature, which has in view no such extensive utility. The propensity to truck, barter, and exchange one thing for another. Now, chances are good is that you just heard me read that, and you were reading along with me, and you still don't know what in the world it said. And that's fair enough. But frankly, I think this is the most difficult sentence in the entire piece, or I guess it's 2 sentences. All right. But what you want to do here is just try to take things one at a time, okay? The division of labor, this is one of the things that Smith starts realizing is that if you have people doing one part of a task, he talks about a pen factory of all things, making pens, not the writing utensils, but stick pens. He talks about this workshop where they divided up the labor, where one person did one thing, they cut the wire, another person sharpened the wire, so it made a sharp tip on it, and another person put the head of the pen on there. And his point is, when they divided up the labor, you want to getting a whole lot more production. Many more pens than one person trying to do all the steps on their own. So it's kind of like this early assembly line type of understanding. And really all that beginning sentence is talking about is that the whole division of labor concept didn't come around because people were intentionally trying to do it. It's just because it was a consequence of people trying to benefit themselves and trying to truck, barter, and exchange one thing for another. Now, another point here is that one of the things that I mentioned up top in these notes is if you don't know what a word means, look it up. Please look up the word. You have the internet at your hands. Just Google it. You're going to wind up getting what it is. For example, if you don't know what benevolence is, look it up. It's generosity. There, I just told you. You don't even have to look it up now. Or if you look at words and you're wondering what in the world truck means in this sentence, because it doesn't seem to make sense, truck in this sentence means, bartering and exchanging. So use it in context. Okay, but he can look that up also to try to figure out what these things are. But a lot of it is not going to be nearly as bad as what that first sentence was. And if you have a little bit of trouble with it, just go one sentence at a time. Sometimes if you're trying to just cruise through this entire thing and just read it all at once, you're going to have a little bit of trouble grasping it. Look at each one of those sentences, right? Make sure you know what it means. If you're working with a partner, because you can work with a partner on this, then read the sentence and discuss it. You got all class period to at least get a general idea of what Adam Smith is on about here, okay? Don't just go off to the internet. People do this all the time. You go off to the internet and you don't know what in the world you're looking at. I'm not saying it can't help or give you a kind of a better grasp on things, but if you don't try reading this and go straight there, then it's not going to help you at all. All right? So give it a chance here. Look at each one of these, and then start seeing what the answers to the questions are. The ones you're going to have to answer at the end. All right? Now, one of the things that he does talk about, which is one of the things I want you to look at, is the self-interest stuff. And the self-interest is something we discussed briefly in class at one point. What is self-interest? Or he calls it self-love. Don't get pervy on me. It's self-interest, all right? But he talks about this self-interest as being beneficial. So why? Why is it supposed to be beneficial? It's not. He's not saying this is going to be beneficial for the person. It's supposed to be beneficial for everybody. And now I think that a really good example that he uses here is this one over here, where he's talking about the butcher, the brewer, and the baker. Right? It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. We address ourselves not to their humanity, but to their self-love, and never talk to them of our own necessities, but of their advantages. Okay? So what does he mean here? How's the self-interest that the butcher, the brewer, and the baker are exhibiting? How is this self-interest, the self-love, supposed to be good for everybody? How is it supposed to be good for society in general? Okay? So think about that. When you're looking at the other stuff that he's talking about here, how is he talking about this self-love, the self-interest is supposed to be beneficial to people as a whole? Okay. Now this winds up getting into the invisible hand question also, because here at the last paragraph he mentions the invisible hand right here. All right. Where he says that it seems like in this, when people are engaging in industry, as in many other cases, they're led by an invisible hand to promote an end, right? A purpose, that's what an end is, a purpose, which was no part of his intention. So people are promoting these ends, these end results. They weren't even intending to accomplish these ends, but yet they here are doing it. So look at this whole society versus self-interest, is that it's easy to look at this as being, well, a strict versus that you're either going to benefit society or you're going to benefit yourself. But what Smith is trying to get at is they're not necessarily in conflict. So think about why that is. Butcher, brewer, baker. And when we're talking about the invisible hand, what is this invisible hand that people are led by? And how is it supposed to help out? How is it supposed to benefit society? So here, let me draw an invisible hand for you so you get a good idea of what it looks like. All right, hold on. There's the thumb. We got an index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky. It's looking pretty good. Let me get some shading on it right there. Right, there's shadows, right? Obviously, you can see where the light source is coming from. So we got some light coming down on it. I've got the perspective pretty good on this. Got some sfumato going here too, with some blurred lines. Some chiaroscuro shade. Yeah, this is an outstanding invisible hand, if I do say so myself. This is Michelangelo quality right here. You can just save this picture right here, and you can put it up somewhere. All right. Okay, go for the questions. You can do it.